Renting in New York City. How much more interesting does it get for New Yorkers to talk about what we've been renting things for? Well, I have good news and I have bad news for you, renters of New York City. The bad news first. Bad news is landlords are asking for 30% to 40% increases in some cases of rent for places that are coming on the market right now, Brooklyn, Queens, Manhattan, particularly Manhattan and Brooklyn. How can that be? CT, Carrie, how is it possible that landlords can ask 40% more rent than they did last year? Well, the reason is because there's low inventory and because a lot of people got very good deals during the pandemic. If you were a smart renter or you listened to me in 2022 or in 2020, you would have negotiated as long a rental as possible as your landlord would go for at the lowest price that they would give. And there were some very low prices, easily down 20% from 2019, right? So people got good deals in 2020. Those deals are now expiring and people are getting hit with huge increases in the rent. And the landlords are like, yeah, look, hey, either you pay 20% or 30% or 40% more rent, or I'm going to put it on the market and I'm going to get that some other way through another person. So my advice to you is if you are in place and you're negotiating with a landlord about renewing your lease and the landlord is coming back to you and saying, well, I need 15% increase in rent, you're probably getting getting a pretty good deal if you're only paying a 15% increase. Now, this is on average, and it depends on where your rent was prior to this. Did you sign a lease in like late 2020 or mid 2020 when there were great deals to be had? Then paying even more than a 15% rent hike might make sense compared to what you could get in the market if you just go and compete with everybody else. So you really got to think about this in terms of what is your next move from a rental standpoint? And if you are in need you have to move for whatever reason, you're looking to sign a lease, it's like the bad old days of New York where you like bring your checkbook to the viewing. And if you like it, you cut a check there and fill out the application by hand. I remember doing this back in the 90s, when I started renting. So that's the bad news, is the 30% to 40% increases. Okay. The good news is that the market is changing. It's softening beneath our feet. I was just talking about this in terms of the sales market in New York City, but I believe it's happening in the rental market as well. And a lot of people are gonna be like, no, there were 25 people like applications for this place I was trying to rent. And I know that is still true in many cases in the city. However, talking to a bunch of rental agents who handle a lot more rentals than average, I'm starting to hear the same things from them as I am seeing in my experience as well as an agent. And that is that people are starting to, some people are starting to look to buy instead of to rent. And a lot of people are maybe staying put and accepting increases in their rent with the new leases because they know how the market is. There seems to be a softening of demand here. And in some ways, you've got to wonder how long can 30% or 40% increases in rent continue? And at some point, they have to cap out. And I think that we're going to see that this year sometime. When exactly is hard to say, but if I were to guess, I would say that by the third quarter of 2022, we're going to start to see a softening of that rental market. And that certainly by 2023, it should be a little bit more reasonable. Those are my best guess projections. I'm happy to talk about this stuff more. If you have questions, reach out. All right. Otherwise, good luck renting.